Hey, it's been a while. How's everybody doing? Happy Father's Day. Seriously, to all the dads out there watching, every single dad is important. Every single dad is a critical element, and frankly, I wish we had more dads around. It's the season that we live in, and I think dads are critical and important. So thank you for all that you guys do out there that are dads. And by the way, my name is Danny Kay, and welcome to Sonic Flair. Today's topic, first of all, I have to admit, it's been a while that I've done a solo video. Frankly, I've just been so busy with work. And, these videos do take time to prep and, figure out all the minutia and stuff. And, I'm getting a little more into editing. I'm just using iMovie to edit. And, it's the first time I'm really kind of getting into that. So it's kind of interesting to explore all that. And, I'm sure there's a lot of amazing YouTubers out there that are, iMovie mavens. They manipulate and cut and slice and dice and all that stuff. I'm not one of those, so hopefully I'll become one, but for now it is what it is. So today's topic, what are we going to talk about? Actually, something really cool that I hinted to a couple of episodes ago, and of course it has to do with Apple Music specifically, and the two major announcements that came out and are live for iOS users anyway. The Android app is going to get updated shortly. And that is, of course, Lossless is here. Apple has finally, after all these years of rumors and, talk about it and are we going to do it or are we not going to do it and so on and so forth, they finally did it. And you can now have access to all the tracks, 65, 70 million tracks in Apple Lossless, and, up to 192. And then, of course, the second part of that gamut monster announcement, spatial audio. And, it's funny, over the last couple of weeks, so it's been, I think about 10 days, 14 days or so since the announcements came out and since the announcement went live. And I've been watching the YouTube videos like everyone else and reading all the blogs and, et cetera, et cetera. And it's kind of funny how our side of, the high-end audio press, the audiophiles, et cetera, they really don't understand Apple, right? I mean, I always giggle and I always get a kick out of it, how they report on Apple. And of course, Apple is, a juggernaut, right? I mean, they've went from underdog to top dog. And, it's hilarious how so few people on the audiophile side really don't understand Apple, right? And hopefully with this video, I'm going to give you my perspective on things. And I'll talk a little bit about, the concept of Apple in vis-a-vis high-end audio. And, it's an interesting conversation, right? Because I think, Apple does things the way that Apple does things. They will always do that. They have, as Tim Cook always says, they have their North Star, and it's all about the user experience, right? And I think if you filter everything that you do and observe and take action on and interact with on an Apple perspective, everything they do is focused, laser focused around the user experience, right? That is the paramount goal of everything that Apple does. And, now and then they have missteps, obviously, like everyone else does. But for the most part, they do a pretty bang up job on that user experience. And so, spatial audio and lossless audio from Apple. First of all, I'll just come straight out of the gate. The big horse here, the winning ticket, is not lossless audio. It really isn't. It's spatial audio. And let me explain to you why. When Apple turned on lossless audio, if you just look at how un-Apple-y an experience that really is. First of all, You can't stream Apple lossless audio, or you can't listen to it. I shouldn't use the word stream. You can't listen to Apple lossless on any currently available Bluetooth powered Apple or Beats headset, period. Because Bluetooth, of course, doesn't support high-res audio, and you just can't do it, right? Even the AirPod Maxes, which I of course have, which are fabulous headphones, the noise cancellation on this is just second to none. I mean, my top dog was Sony. The MX3s, the 1000 MX3s, W1000 MX3s, or whatever they're called. That was my top dog. Now, of course, they have the 4th generation model out. But these guys, as far as noise cancellation, just absolutely stunning. I can't wait. I've got a trip coming up in a couple of weeks to Europe, and I can't wait to take these on a plane because they've done a bang-up job with noise cancellation on these. Back to spatial audio and lossless. Even with these, even when they're connected via wire, you're still not getting the full 24/192 Apple lossless high-res content through these. So if you just consider that how you enable lossless, you have to use an external DAC. You have to, so something like, for example, the Audio Quest Dragon here, which I have, which is quite fantastic. I'm not 100% sold on all of these outside little DACs, but this one happens to be quite good. And so you need to use one of these. You have to have a hardwired connection, obviously. And so when you just look at what the hoops you have to jump through to get to Apple lossless, clearly, and even if you listen to Eddie Q, who's the head honcho at Apple for all their services, including Apple Music, of course, you just listen to him talk, and it's clear what Apple is betting on. And it's not lossless; it's spatial audio. Lossless is a feature that they enabled because, obviously, like 4K on the movie side, they see a value add to it. But even when you ask Eddie Q, in fact, they just did an interview with him, he said something to the effect of, if you put 100 people in a room, you play them lossless audio, chances are very few, and it's shown time and time again, right, that very few people are actually going to be able to hear the difference. Certainly not on, AirPod Buds, AirPods Pro in this case. And so, it's very difficult. You really have to know what to listen for and pick up on the cues. And even then, in a noisy environment, you're, out jogging, you're out walking, you're on a subway, you're on a train, you're driving, you're being chauffeured, you're not going to really hear the difference, right? So it's not about lossless audio. It's all about spatial audio. And let me tell you something. If you haven't tried it already, if you're an iOS user, give it a try. If you subscribe to Apple Music, here's another thing that Apple is phenomenal at. Spotify, Tidal, etc., Qobuz, all these, high-end streaming services, they all charge extra for these additional features, right? I think when I signed up for Tidal back in the day, it was like an extra $10, so $20 a month to get your lossless content, right? And Apple Music flicks the switch, and guess what? It's turned on by default. You don't have to pay anything extra for it, and you can enjoy Apple lossless music and spatial audio for the same price that you've been paying all along, right? So that's, again, the power of Apple, the power of the ecosystem that they have. And so I gotta tell you, spatial audio is killer, and here's why. Everyone, and I mean everyone, whether you're listening to AirPod Pros, whether you're listening to AirPod Maxes, whether you're listening to my Odyssey EL8s from a few years ago that are still fantastic headphones, regardless of what headphone you pick to listen to, anyone is going to hear the difference between spatial audio and non-spatial audio just like that, right? it's so easily apparent. It's much more submersive. You feel like, especially on closed back headphones or over the ear headphones. So that would be ear cups that go over your ear. Where there's a little bit more outside noise blocking, even if you don't have active noise cancellation. The difference is, it's night and day, right? It's kind of like watching a VHS movie and then somebody turns you on and flips you over to the 4K movie. You're like, holy cow, what just happened, right? It's like, oh my God, this is amazing. Or an HDR movie, right? Even more so probably than 4K, although the difference from VHS to 4K is obviously, quite considerable. But it's that kind of an experience. And again, listen to the word I'm using, experience. That's what it's all about. And so when you listen to some of the tracks, and there's thousands of tracks already out there that obviously have to be, re-engineered from a mastering and recording perspective to take advantage of spatial audio. It uses Dolby Atmos to do so. Similar sort of to the Sony 360 audio, although Sony 360 audio is really only compatible with Sony headphones. At least if I'm not mistaken, feel free to leave a comment below if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's only 360 audio compatible with Sony headphones. Whereas Apple Spatial Audio, any headphone you use, you're going to be able to get the immediate benefit of it. And I got to tell you, trust me, give it a try. In many cases, spatial audio is phenomenal. Especially if you use what I was just saying, headphones that either are over-the-ear headphones, so they give you inherent better noise isolation from the outside, but especially so if you have active noise cancellation headphones that completely mute the outside world to you, and all you have is literally just silence, and you press play. Let me tell you something. Even on the AirPod Pros that I've been using since day one, they're phenomenal. Even with these AirPod Pros, where the active noise cancellation is obviously not on par with, big headphones like the AirPod Maxes or the Sony model, like I said, the 1000 Mark III or the Mark IV series that's now out. The difference is substantial. It is submersive. It is, the biggest problem that I have with headphones in general, and why I really don't listen too much to headphones, is it's all in your head, right? It's like, the musicians are all taking place in your head. All the singing, all the performance, it's all in your head, right? There are very few, yes, there's been a couple of circuits out there that, tend to sort of, they use wizardry, digital wizardry, to make it sound more spatial. Personally, for me, it's never really convinced me. The only headphone that has done a phenomenal job of really taking the headphone out of your head, the sound, so to speak, was the original K1000 AKG, or the follow-up to the K1000s, the MySphere 3.2s that I have here, which are phenomenal headphones, really ear speakers. As you can see, you can adjust the angle of the driver vis-a-vis your head, right? So when you put them on, like so, you can see, I got, giant elephant ears right now. You can see that, the angle of the drivers just inherently, with just this feature alone, spaces out the sound much more so than, any other headphone that I'm familiar with. And I've, tried all of them. I have a couple of other Odyssey headphones here, the LCD3s and the LCD2. And even though they, kind of do a good job with that, the MySpheres are the only headphones outside of the K1000s, which are now 30 plus years old, that do a convincing job of giving you that outside head experience when listening to headphones. So, interestingly, Because the MySpheres do such a great job of giving you that outside head experience, these are the one pair of headphones where spatial audio actually doesn't sound that great at all, right? I've played a bunch of tracks that sound phenomenal on your typical headphones, over the ear headphones, the Audizies, the Apple AirPod Maxes. On these, it just doesn't work. I think it has to do, obviously, with the fact that the driver is not. First of all, it's not an over-the-ear headphone, so you get a lot of outside noise coming into you. So it has to be a quiet environment for them to work to begin with. That's just inherent in how they are designed. But it simply doesn't work, right? The spatial audio gets lost. It sounds incredibly diffuse. It just doesn't sound right? And so I do not play the spatial audio tracks on these. I just play the lossless tracks, and it sounds phenomenal, right? I mean, it really does. Especially with these high-end MySpheres or the Audizies, you do easily, in my opinion, well, I shouldn't say easily, but you do hear, depending on the track, depending on how it was mastered and recorded, I think you can, if you know what you're listening for, you can hear that difference quite readily. Spatial audio, however, outside of the MySpheres, it's the ticket. And let me tell you, there are some tracks. There was a Marvin Gaye track. There was a Rihanna track that just, the mastering was done so well that you truly feel like, first of all, the instruments are around you. And again, I'm not getting into the conversation of, is that really how it sounds like in the studio? That's not what it's about, right? It's not about a studio experience of, hey, here's a musician, here's the drummer, the bass player, the, clarinet, the flute, the piano, whatever, the basson. It's not about that. It's about submersive music outside of your head while listening to headphones. And that is where spatial audio does a phenomenal job. I haven't listened to all tracks, obviously. There's some where it's more of a gimmick. It doesn't really come through. There's a couple of classical pieces that are phenomenal on spatial audio. And again, give it a try. I think you're going to be impressed with it. I'm certainly impressed with it, to where I used Spotify quite a bit lately, but I've switched back to Apple Music because of spatial audio. And I tell you, it's killer. So, we'll see where all this heads. I mean, obviously, you have to keep in mind that, and even Apple has done this or said so themselves, for Logic Pro, they're going to be adding enhanced features to make mastering and recording for spatial audio that much easier from a production perspective, obviously. Because, again, you do have to remaster and recreate the music in spatial audio for it to really make sense from a listening perspective, right? You can't just, run a filter through it and be done with it. You have to, tweak around the instruments, the layers, where they are, etc. And I can't stress enough how incredible a feature it is. And frankly, I'm sold on it, right? I mean, I think it's a great feature. I think because of Apple's dominance, whole different conversation, I get that. Because of Apple's dominance, and because Apple does such a phenomenal job of training their users to adopt new technologies, right? I think people are going to get completely layered in with spatial audio, to where in a few years' time, or maybe even less, if you don't have spatial audio, it's going to be like 4K. It's going to be like HDR. You want me to watch this in non-4K and non-HDR, this movie? Probably not going to be that much into it. I'm going to lose the experience, etc., etc. So I really believe that with spatial audio, Apple is going to train their customers and end users to accept spatial audio as, hey, this is what it is. Now, mind you, if you play spatial audio, Dolby Atmos again, on 2-channel speakers, forget it. Not going to sound great. I've tried it on all of my speakers that I have at home. Forget it. It's pointless to even get into that conversation because it's not going to sound right. That said, if you have a Dolby Atmos setup at home, which I don't, and I likely never will, just because it's way too complex, and I think the components that are available out there are, they're made for mass market consumption, which is fine. And so unless you have a Dolby Atmos home theater, I would not recommend you play back Dolby Atmos tracks via 2-channel stereo because it's just not going to sound right. So, but for headphones, and again, it is what it is, right? Unfortunately, a lot of people today consume music via headphones. It's just the way it is, right? Hopefully, we will try to convert them to get back into 2-channel stereo, right? Which I feel, in the grand scheme of things, with a natural reproduction of music, that is the way to listen to music and to consume music, recorded music. But for headphones, I think spatial audio is it. And so, or 360 audio from Sony. I'm sure Spotify, I don't know, maybe they'll do something with Dolby Atmos at some point. Once the tracks are remastered, I'm sure they're going to be available for, multiple platforms, hopefully to consume and get layered into. But I got to say, Apple, you've done a phenomenal job with spatial audio. I love it. It sounds great. And that's my thought on spatial audio and lossless. And again, lossless, it's a nice to have from the perspective of being able to stream music on your 2-channel system at home. And certainly you hear, depending on, obviously the level of commitment that you have to 2-channel playback, you certainly will hear the difference between, the standard 256K AAC file and the lossless file, especially as you go up in the higher res realm of the playback chain. But for, again, most people consuming music via headphones, spatial audio is it. It's not lossless audio. So anyway, that's it. That's my take on it. I'm sticking to it. And, let's see what the future holds. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you guys soon. Ciao.